Hey everyone, it's Michael from Chess Lifestyle, and today we're going to do some more speedrunning of 1c3 Venom. And yeah, last time we made a little bit of progress from the 1400 mark, so we're just going to continue that. And I received a few comments that people would like to see a slightly longer time control so that the explanations aren't as rushed. So I'm going to try playing 5 minutes today. This might result in the video being a bit longer. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, if you preferred the 3 minute time control or the 5 minute time control. What would be your preference? Right, so for our first game, let's see what we're going to get. Okay, we get a d6 move, which is probably going to transpose into some King's Indian. So we're going to just continue with our same London setup. So generally I like to make this triangle setup once my bishop's developed outside of a chain. And then as soon as this is going to be a threat, then I want to be playing h3. Or if I am going to be playing the move knight f3 next, then I want to have the move h3 in the position now. Okay, my opponent has gotten their e5 move. And yeah, maybe I could have ignored it as well and not captured. This would have been fine as well. Yeah, because I don't really have a worry if they take me. I've got two different ways I can recapture. But somehow I thought that this pawn is somehow a bit loose at the start, and maybe I can already cause some problems. Like, it feels like, they've tried to open up the center before they've castled their king, which can sometimes have its drawbacks, right? So this was my attempt to capture and try and exploit this. So let's continue in this style. I mean, you could argue the same for my king, right? Like, I am now attacking in the center before my king is castled. But the difference is that, oh, that's a queen. So the difference is that, my opponent has been much more aggressive in the center and taken more space. Whereas I'm kind of like, a little bit more reserved. And that means there's going to be more space for my pieces to flood in, as opposed to their pieces to flood in for me. So okay, that was a nice game to finish in 10 moves. Let's play another. Right, so finally, after having 4 blacks, 4 blacks out of 5, we get another white game, and here we get a London system with 1d5. So let's see what type of 1d5 position Barazinbar goes for. Okay, so he's chosen for Shigarin, and as I discussed in the main course, Shigarin really doesn't make too much sense against our setup. Because sometimes Shigarin is with this idea, which just doesn't work. Here they've even blunted their bishop, and the other idea is to push for e5. And in both cases, yeah, we're just completely in control of these two ideas. So we're doing fine. Now, one little interesting thing actually is taking this bishop. I'm not always a fan of this capture, because basically black can recapture with the c-pawn. And this means they actually get a minority attack. So I generally like to move back, and if they capture me, I get this open h-file, which we saw in yesterday's video of the 1400 speedrun. So now we're going to get one of these positions that resembles a lot like a Caro-Kann reversed classical variation, or one knight variation, where we basically just have this difference in pawn structure. We've got the e-pawn, they've got the d-pawn, and in general we can put some pressure here. And the position is very, very level, but I do think that there's ways to outplay the opponent. So if we remember from our London study, we'll understand that whenever black develops this light squared bishop, we meet it with queen b3 to have these extra pressure on b7. And actually from this, you'll realize that we studied this kind of pawn setup in the classical variation of the Caro-Kann, in the advanced material section. So if you haven't read the advanced material section, you might enjoy having a look and checking this out, because here we're actually I actually advocate the castle queenside, and this pawn structure means that we're actually going to be able to push this mass forward and play against this side of the board. So I'm going to play the move bishop d3, maybe bait my opponent to try and play for this, right? And I kind of wanted that because it feels like it's maybe a tad slow of a plan. And okay, now we get this situation. So we should already be looking at how to try and break this. What is going to be the best way to exploit this? Now, I do need to be a bit careful of this c4 move, although I could put my bishop here. It's not the end of the world. So maybe I've got some small amount of time. Okay, I'm going to start with g4. I don't want to push the f pawn just yet because the knight might be able to find a home here. But now the question is, do I want to play with this plan, maybe slow play it, or do I want to play for g5 immediately and potentially sack my rook like this? Very tough to say. I'm very curious to see what happens if I do sack the rook. So I was going to sack the rook and see what happens. My opponent decided against it. So now my pawn is a bit vulnerable, right? So probably I want to support this. And now I don't have to worry about a knight coming into e4. So that's okay. So okay, he wants to come into f5 instead, but I've got good control over the square. This position definitely looks very, very good for me. Okay, I'm going to double on the h-file. The other thing about this pawn being on g5 is they can very rarely push h5 because I can take en passant. So okay, they can try and hold it. But the thing is, whenever your opponent is trying to hold a backwards pawn like this, it can be very, very tough because they don't have as much space to defend, whereas I've got lots and lots of space to attack. So basically, this should be an easier attack for me. So let's see how it goes. Okay, my opponent was quite clever to wait until my rook was no longer on the d-file, so I didn't have this move for my bishop, right, making use of this pin. But I actually don't mind bringing my bishop this way round as well. And, you know, if black tries to defend it, I'm very happy to trade all the pieces. I have a better pawn structure. Should have a much easier game. Okay, so my opponent has defended quite well. Credit to him. I'm going to control this square, make sure that the knight doesn't come in. He comes in anyway, which means it's just a free pawn. So you see how I'm, again, not doing anything crazy. I'm not taking any big risks. Okay, except for earlier when I wanted to sacrifice the rook. I felt like I'd have full compensation. We can have a quick look after the game. But yeah, basically it's difficult for the opponent to play because in general we have the more solid pawn structure. And as you can see, it's really interesting, right? But this game, even though it was a Shigarin, right? It was d5, knight c6. I used ideas from the classical Caro-Kann reversed, right? I used ideas from that. And what other opening did I use ideas from? There was another opening that I was keeping in mind when playing this. Okay, I can't remember, but I definitely mentioned it earlier in this game that I was thinking about this other type of setup as well. So okay, now definitely feels like, you know, there's a lot of loose exposed pieces. It feels like I should have something here to seal the deal. The question is what? So if I give a check, he has to go to g8. Maybe I'll just take this d-file, to be honest. Like, I don't see immediate progress on this side of the board. So maybe let's attack there. His king is a bit weak. I'm gonna give a check, force the king to block in this rook, and then if we trade queens, I'm not so bothered. So if we were to trade queens now, I'm a little happier. Because now black needs to spend another tempo to basically get that rook out. So if you can throw in a move that kind of hinders our opponent's play, this is probably a good idea. So okay, what to do now? Well, basically my rook is doing an important job of stopping h5. So now is the time to try and improve my king somewhere. Like, I want to get ready to bring it out into the center. Okay, and now we're gonna challenge, and we're a pawn up, right? So if we're a pawn up and we enter this pawn endgame, very, very high chance that we should be able to win it. And the one thing we need to make sure of is that they're not going to be able to get a passed pawn, right? If I trade these pieces, they're not going to be able to get a passed pawn. I can just take en passant, and then that's going to be okay. So with the pawn extra and no way for my opponent's rook to enter, this should just be a winning endgame. Unless I've misunderstood this position horribly, but yeah, this should be completely winning. So I'm just gonna push my pawns like so, just to limit my opponent's king. In general, I want to activate my king more than activating my pawns, but I was also aware that my opponent's king might get active too. So now my king has gone this way. I can now make use of my majority on this side of the board. And with the extra pawn, this should be completely winning. So now his king's on a very good square, taking the opposition here. So I might play the move a3 just to see if he moves his king again and then lets my king in some way. He should probably play a4, which he does. But now the thing is, these pawns are not going anywhere, right? So if he came in, I could come in, and now my king is able to make progress, right? So this looks very promising, and now I think I can just go for these pawns. So yeah, I'm not blundering anything here. Yeah, this should be fine. Let's do this. Okay, and now we can push the other pawn. Okay, let's do that. Okay, and now we need to just get to a lawnmower checkmate, which we managed to do. So, okay, actually one small thing that I was a little bit surprised by was actually this push was somehow a bit scary. If I didn't have king c4, would I be able to deal with this fine? Yeah, so if I take here, they push, I take, okay? If I take here, they push, I take. So, okay, that was absolutely nothing to worry about. For some reason, okay, in the time scramble, I got a little bit scared that maybe I had somehow missed some breakthrough or something. But yeah, this breakthrough doesn't exist, right? I can just take, and there's nothing to worry about. The one thing I did want to check out earlier in the game was this rook sacrifice to see if I had compensation or not. I felt like his king would be super weak, so maybe we'd have enough compensation here. But let's have a look. So this was when I pushed g5, and I was looking at this knight h5, and I was thinking that maybe I can sacrifice the rook here. So okay, apparently I can. Generally, you know, if we're material down and it gives an eval of plus 0.8, this is like really promising, because my opponent's going to be under a lot of pressure, and it's not going to be easy to defend with an exposed king. I mean, this is why I like playing these kind of very solid, stable setups, is that I don't really have to worry about my king's safety a lot of the time, which just makes the game of chess a lot easier. So, okay, I'm glad to see that I didn't give up the advantage or something, and I'm going to have like really good pressure for the rest of the game, and a plus 0.8 advantage. Okay, it's decent. So, okay, let's play one final game then. Hopefully we get white pieces. Yes. Okay. So let's see what we're going to get this time with 1c3. And again, we get a London. So, and again, another Shigarin. Okay. So again, we're very happy. You know, he's basically playing the Shigarin idea. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work at all. So this is fine for us. And okay, looks like he might even castle queenside. That's quite interesting. He definitely shouldn't castle queenside now that he's played a6, because now this is going to be a hook. So what? Okay, let's develop our pieces. And he plays f6, right? So he wants to do something like this. So now I'm basically thinking, do I need to worry about my bishop's retreat? He's also not threatening to play e5 just yet, because I have enough pieces on it. So he's gonna have to prepare this. So I may as well just keep developing. When in doubt, develop your pieces, and then we'll see. Aha, so he's played with g5 instead. Okay, very interesting. And h5. Okay, so he's going for this very aggressive plan. If we take a leaf out of our Caro-Kann reverse advanced variation, I like the idea of meeting h5 with h4 here, because I don't really want him to expand on the king side, and I really don't mind if he closes the position like this. So I'm going to put the knight back on g1. It looks a bit passive right now. It looks like I've got nowhere to move. But I'm eventually going to come out to f4. This is my plan. And here, I have this urge to just play for b4 immediately. Like, maybe my king is a little bit weak in the center here, but I always have this move king f1. I think that looks okay. I don't think this part of the board is going to like explode or something. So we can start pushing these pawns. And this pawn is a hook. So whenever you put your king on one side of a board and you've made this hook, it can be very dangerous. So now I'm very tempted, even if you were to take here. I don't think I care. I'm just going to like open this completely up. I can also play with c4, but then I'm not sure if I want to allow this queen in this way, right? So b5 is definitely my main candidate here, and I don't really mind if I lose material, because basically his king safety gets completely exposed. So I think this is a very reasonable sacrifice. Let's see if he takes everything. He does. Okay, so in this position, I've also got some pressure like this. What's the best way to execute all of these ideas? c4 is definitely tempting somehow, but I'm not sure if I want to allow this. Also, this knight is somewhat strong, right? So maybe I want to get rid of this knight as well. I'm gonna try something. It might be wrong. I'm gonna give up my bishop, which is typically a good bishop. Like, I've got my pawns on dark squares, I want my bishop on the light squares, and this also increases his strength of his bishop. Right now, his bishop is strong. But my logic is that, okay, my knight was kind of blocked in. Now I can get it out, and I'm gonna be basically trying to play for c4. This is my plan. So I want to play for c4 here. Can I play it already? Takes. No, I can't quite play it. Maybe I can put a knight on f4, put some pressure, and I'm gonna be trying to play for the c4 push. Because if I can get c4 in and my bishop's already lined up on the square, then it's gonna be looking really good. And in general, I feel like, you know, when the opponent castles queenside in the London, I'm always very happy because my bishop's already lined up on this side of the board. And generally we play on the queenside, so yeah, it just seems really easy to play. Now the question is knight or rook. Knight is somehow helping protect my king. And the rook is actually very safe on this square. I don't see a way that it gets attacked, and we're getting ready to potentially double and maybe do some discovery and cause some damage. So this looks very promising. So okay. My instinct would just be to double and then think later. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else so critical about this position. And generally, I like to give my pieces just a little bit more support. You see, all of my pieces are just very well supported. It means that there's less chance that I'm going to blunder something. The more protected my pieces are. Now, my king is still in the center, so let's get this guy castled. Even though it looks like these pawns have advanced very far, if these pawns are ultimately blocked up, it means that this side of the board isn't going to open up, which is basically when my king is going to be vulnerable. So my king's going to be safe on this side of the board. And now we just need a way to continue. Now, when I look at this position, I see that his king is in the center, my king is not, and therefore I should be playing in the center. I should be playing in the center to try and rip open this pawn structure in front of the king and try and weaken it. So, okay, it goes for this trade. I can just take back. And I'm now threatening this, I'm now threatening that. Looks really promising. Also, given the position was opening up, perhaps there could have been an argument to say that he shouldn't have traded off his bishop, because generally the bishops are stronger in open positions, and I had the two knights. But okay, I can understand his position was already feeling quite tough. I'm going to try and get away with this move. Like, if I can sink a knight into d6, this is just going to be very powerful. Temporarily, though, I am, like, weakening my protection of the rook. But again, you know, I've got double protection, so I should be okay. Now here, my rook is definitely vulnerable for a sec. But, yeah, I can open this up. And, yeah, this should be great, right? Like, I'm basically opening up the center towards my opponent's king. And ultimately, my king is very safe. Like, if you can play chess like this, where your king is very safe and your opponent's king isn't, it's basically free pressure and very nice, nice play to follow. So we finally get a knight d6 move. We get this fork. They have to sack, and now we support our rook on the 7th rank, which is just superb. And again, taking this pawn, sure, he wins a pawn, but ultimately he's exposing his king even more. So I'm actually glad to see this move. Now, let's play on the dark squares. You can see my opponent has this light square bishop, right? So I want to play on the dark squares. That's going to make my life easier. And I have a quick look to see if there's any pressure against my king. I don't see any way that his pieces can come in. So now is the time to try and flood my pieces in with some attacking ideas. So actually I've got this check as well, which I think is a checkmate in 2. I've also got this checkmate, and okay, we forced the resignation. Fantastic. So yeah, that was a very, very nice game. And okay, let's see if we can finish with one white pieces game. If not, then I think I'll call it today. We did have a bunch of black games in a row, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get white again. No, we get black. Okay, so let me just conclude while playing this final game to say that, okay, we reached 1450, which is nice. And yeah, I hope you guys learned some more about 1c3 Venom. I would like if you could comment below if you preferred the format of 5-0 as opposed to 3-0. Was it, you know, a little bit slower so the explanations made a bit more sense? Or, you know, are we all attention deficit individuals now and we prefer 3-0 because it's just faster and you don't have to watch as long? So let me know what you guys think. But yeah, I felt like those C3 games were pretty standard of how C3 might go. And yeah, of course, I would recommend that you know, follow the course and read as much of my comments as possible rather than just like trying to remember specific moves. As you can see here, I didn't even like stick to exact moves. Basically, it's more about the plans and ideas, and you could see time and time again I was taking you know, inspiration from other positions of 1c3 Venom and applying it to the position I had on the board. So if you study the whole course, you'll get this comprehensive understanding of how to make use of 1c3 Venom, and then that is what's going to help you navigate positions that you haven't even seen before. So yeah, I hope you can follow that journey with the repertoire. I'm liking my position here, and one day I will explain this black repertoire that I'm playing as well. But for the time being, let's focus on white. And yeah, thank you guys all for watching. So appreciate everyone who has been supporting this channel, the YouTube members, the Patreon subscribers, and everyone who decided to give 1c3 Venom a chance. And I will see you again in the coming days for another C3 Venom tutorial and speedrun. Okay, adios.